Welcome everyone to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to guide you through this because we are unpacking literally one of the most bizarre yet completely brilliant crossovers I have ever come across. If you're the kind of person who loves discovering the hidden structures behind your favorite pop culture, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking a wildly popular, completely chaotic Netflix comedy and looking at it through the lens of ancient astrology. Sounds crazy, right? But the mapping is so absolutely accurate, it's going to completely change how you view character design.
I mean, it's a fascinating question. How does a hit Netflix anime perfectly align with ancient Vedic astrology? Right now, we're talking about The Disastrous Life of Psyche K, which is a show famous for its rapid-fire comedy and its incredibly eccentric cast. But rather than just laughing at the surface-level jokes, we're analyzing this series through a totally unexpected cosmic lens. We are going to break down exactly how the core characters in this modern anime actually mirror timeless ancient energies.
To do this, we really need to define our framework here, which is Jyotish. This is the traditional Hindu system of astrology, also known as Vedic astrology. Now, in Jyotish, planetary energies don't just sit up there in the sky. They represent very specific, timeless character archetypes that govern human behavior and cosmic forces. So what we're going to do in this explainer is map these ancient planetary energies directly onto the modern, hilarious character dynamics of Psyche K.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at Saturn, or Shani, Mars, known as Mangal, Ketu, the south node of the Moon, and Rahu, the north node.
Section 1. The Grounded and the Fiery, Saturn versus Mars.
We're going to start by looking at a classic dynamic of opposites. We're pairing the restricted, highly grounded energy of Saturn against the explosive, unrelenting fire of Mars. Let's look at our main character, Psyche Kasuo. In the Jyotish system, Psyche is the undeniable embodiment of Saturn, or Shani, which is the planet of boundaries, detachment, discipline, and restriction. You see, Saturn is this heavy, slow-moving planet that creates limits. And Psyche, despite having these literal godlike psychic abilities, well, he just wants to be left alone. His entire personality is built around maintaining strict boundaries and keeping himself entirely detached from the world around him. He is disciplined to a fault.
In fact, he's often described as the silent, grim observer, and that perfectly captures his essence. While everyone else is freaking out, overreacting, or causing massive high school drama, Psyche is just watching. He prefers total solitude. He stays completely detached from the emotional roller coaster of high school life, perfectly mirroring that cold, distant energy of Shani. And honestly, given the people around him, you really can't blame the guy.
But this isn't just a quirky personality trait. It is baked directly into his physical character design. Psyche literally wears two control antennas on his head, and their specific purpose? To limit and restrict his immense power. His physical design incorporates literal Saturnian boundaries. Without these limiters, his power would destroy the world. So Saturn is the planet of restriction, and Psyche's walking around with physical restrictors pinned to his skull just to keep himself and the entire universe in check.
But then, we have his polar opposite. Enter Hierokineshi. If Psyche is the cold restriction of Saturn, Hiero is the absolute, unapologetic embodiment of Mars, or Mangal. Mars represents raw energy, fire, aggression, and relentless physical motivation. Hiero is the ultimate hot-blooded class representative. He is always shouting, he is always sweating, and he is always pushing everyone to their absolute physical limits. He operates at 100 miles an hour, channeling pure, unfiltered Martian aggression and drive into literally everything he does, whether it's a massive sports festival or just, cleaning the classroom.
And the show makes this cosmic connection incredibly literal. Hiero possesses a literal burning aura of passion. He has this intensely competitive spirit and just infinite physical stamina. But here is the absolute best part. His name, Kineshi Hiero, is actually a direct pun on pyrokinesis, fire manipulation. He doesn't just act like Mars. His very name and his visual aura on screen radiate the fiery energy of Mango. And this brilliantly illustrates the comedic friction of the series. We have Saturnian Psyche, who wants absolutely nothing more than solitude, boundaries, and quiet observation, matched up against Martian Hiero, who is just vibrating with a desperate need to motivate everyone physically. You put these two in a room, and the comedy basically writes itself. It's the ancient clash between the immovable object of Saturn and the unstoppable force of Mars, played out every single time Hiero tries to get Psyche to run a marathon.
Section 2. The Instinctual and the Illusory. Ketu versus Rahu.
This brings us to where things get really weird, and honestly, really funny. We are moving from the physical world into the psychological, exploring the hilarious contrast between having absolutely no thoughts and having way too many delusions. Let's look at Riki Nendo. Nendo perfectly aligns with Ketu, which is the south node of the moon in Vedic astrology. Now, Ketu is known as the headless planet. It has no brain. It operates entirely on raw, unthinking instinct, and it is completely unpredictable to worldly logic. When you try to analyze Ketu with reason, you fail, because there is no logical processing happening there at all. It's just sudden, chaotic action.
Which is exactly why Psyche, the most powerful psychic on Earth, is completely terrified of Nendo. Nendo is famously so completely dim-witted that Psyche cannot even read his mind. Why? Because Nendo literally has zero thoughts in his head. None. He acts purely on sudden, chaotic instinct. Psyche can predict a genius, sure, but he cannot predict Nendo, which makes this delightfully dense high schooler the perfect embodiment of Kenisutu's mindless, yet remarkably powerful nature. But nature abhors a vacuum, right? If Ketu is the absence of thought, its cosmic counterpart, Rahu, the north node, is the absolute overload of it. Enter Shun Kaido. Kaido perfectly represents Rahu, the planet of illusions, shadows, obsessions, and alternate realities, which is often referred to as Maya. Rahu governs the obsession with unseen, hidden dimensions. It's theatrical, it's the dramatic, it's the reality that doesn't actually exist but feels intensely, undeniably real to the person experiencing it.
Kaido suffers from a severe case of chunibyo, or delusions of grandeur. He lives in a total illusion. In his mind, he isn't just some scrawny high schooler. Oh no, he is a legendary hero named the Jet Black Wings, locked in a desperate battle against a secret shadow organization called the Dark Reunion. None of this is real. It is all an elaborate fantasy world of shadows and hidden dimensions, which perfectly describes the obsessive, illusory domain of Rahu.
Place these two extremes side by side and you get comedic gold. On one side, Ketu, represented by Nendo, is the headless body. Raw instinct, zero thoughts, entirely unpredictable. On the other side, Rahu, represented by Ketu, is the disembodied head, obsessive illusions, alternate realities, and massive delusions of grandeur. One literally has nothing going on upstairs, and the other is running a 24/7 cinematic fantasy epic in his mind. These are the two nodes of the moon in Jyotish, and seeing them interact as high school buddies is just an absolute masterclass in character writing.
Section 3. A perfectly aligned universe. The cosmic conclusion.
When we step back and look at the broader picture, it becomes so clear why this specific, ancient astrological mapping drives the brilliant comedy of the series. So, the crucial point is this. We have Psyche Kasuo anchoring the show with his Saturnian boundaries and detachment. We have Hiro Kaneshi as Mars, bringing the raw fire and relentless motivation. Riki Nendo embodies Ketu, with his mindless instinct, completely neutralizing Psyche's psychic radar. And finally, Shun Kaido channels Rahu, lost in a total world of illusions and obsessions. The comedy works so incredibly well because these aren't just one-dimensional anime tropes. They are foundational, ancient archetypes interacting with each other exactly as Vedic astrology dictates they would.
And this brings up a really fun point for you to think about. Are we surrounded by Mars and Rahu energies in our own daily lives? Think about your workplace, your family, your friend group. Do you have a Hiru who is always turning literally everything into a fiery physical competition? Or do you have a Kaidu who is completely absorbed in their own dramatic, obsessive reality? These archetypes are timeless for a very good reason. They are all around us.
Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. If a chaotic comedy like Psyche K is secretly operating on a complex grid of ancient Vedic astrology, what else is? How might ancient astrological archetypes be secretly mapping out the characters in all your favorite shows? Next time you fire up Netflix to stream some anime, keep this cosmic mapping in mind. It gives an entirely new, fascinating perspective to the comedy. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep observing the energies around you, and I will